Welcome back to Beauty Bee. You may be aware that I am a big fan of build your own palette style tools. If you aren't, I'll link a video that includes probably a minute where I just get giddy over how fun I think these tools are. If you're new here, hi, I'm Iris, and my strange addiction is putting together build your own palettes online and then never buying them. I like to think that this misspent youth has taught me how to make a usable, standalone palette of eyeshadows. Now, obviously, people buy these build your own palettes for a variety of reasons. Maybe they just want to get a bundle deal on some duochromes and glitters to pepper in here and there with their other shadows. Maybe they intend to make a little travel palette of 2 shimmery browns and 2 matte browns to take with them on business trips. Those are both valid and reasonable ways to approach these palettes, though I might suggest looking for pre-made neutral quad to Madame or Monsieur businessman or woman, but they aren't the types of custom palettes this video is about. What I want to talk about today are mid-sized palettes that can give the user a pretty wide variety of complete looks. I'm not buying anything I'm showing today, but I think it's still important to talk at least a little bit about price. Within a brand, palettes of individual single shadows are almost always more expensive than purchasing a pre-made palette. That's one of the reasons I feel it's essential to really think through how you'll use a palette of singles before you buy, because you are paying a premium for the ability to customize your selections. All of the palette mockups that I'm showing today were built using Inglot's online freedom system. These are very pricey palettes. Though each is comprised of only 10 shades, all of them would cost between $96 and $100 US. The variations are due to the number of super glimmery special shades that are included in each palette. Let's actually start with what would, for me, be a tempting but ultimately bad purchase. I actually find this palette very attractive. I love the poppy, cool mattes that I mostly call the funky shades, like some 1970s disco girl. I think the lighter lid shades look beautiful and wearable, and the palette seems to have a good variety of colors and a nice, even split between shimmers and mattes. However, with the way I do my makeup, this is very limiting. I'm not sure how I would use that muted red shade in a look from this palette. Though it's a very wearable, you'll have to mentally add in the air quotes around that word because you can't see me. It's a very wearable shade, but I think the only shades it would really look good with are the 2 pinks. And pink with red isn't a look I like to do particularly often. The colorful mattes are all so similar in depth that I can't see myself using them together. And all the lid shades, which for me are the lighter shimmery shades, are fairly neutral. Using this palette, I'm pretty much locked into a neutral lid, a pop of color in the outer corner, and maybe blended into the crease. Add or skip black shadow as liner, as desired. Someone more skilled, adventurous, or just with different tastes in makeup may find this the perfect palette that gives them a huge amount of variety. But this just won't give me everything I'm looking for. Now let's look at an equally funky palette in what is, for me, a much more versatile format. There are actually a few shared shades between the 2 palettes, the olive green, the matte purple, and I intended to keep the black shades the same, but it looks like they might actually be slightly off. No matter, I'm sure they look practically identical in the eye. I've maintained the vibes that I was trying to build with the first palette, but build something that I can actually get a pretty wide variety of looks out of. But how? This is where we get into the formula. I think most of us have a pretty standard way we do our eyeshadow. Yeah, maybe we'll do something completely different once in a while, but I know there's a recipe I follow when I don't have time to experiment or potentially have to wipe off my makeup and start again. A go-to. For me, it's a shimmery shade on the lid and something matte in the crease. From that, I'll add on the extras. Sometimes I'll put something darker in my outer corner. I also like having a dark liner shade and a very light shade to highlight my inner corner and my brow bone with. For the liner and highlight shades, I don't have a strong preference for mattes or shimmers. I built my palette around that eyeshadow recipe. I almost always use a shimmery shade on the lid and a mid-tone matte in the crease. Therefore, I've given myself 4 shimmery lid shades and 3 mid-tone matte crease shades. I want to be able to go super colorful, very neutral, or somewhere in between. So I made sure to have at least one neutral shade and one colorful shade in each category. I'm not going to wear, say, 2 lid shades at the same time very often at all, so I don't need to worry about those going together, but I want every lid and crease combination to work. Let's take a closer look at those 12 combinations. I'll arrange them from most neutral to most colorful, and yep, all of them work. Of course, there are some I would use more often than others. I suspect that either the gold with the brown or the silver with the purple would become my most used, and I'm simply more excited about playing with the blue and green than most of the other combinations. However, I can see myself realistically using all of these. So there's 7 of 10 shades assigned. Now for the easy part. I mentioned liner and darkening up the outer corner, and I chose 2 shades to do this with, a shimmery dark brown and a matte almost black. I would probably end up using the brown to darken up the outer corner more than the black, but I would definitely use both as liners quite often. And finally, we have an off-white shimmer to highlight with. I'm going to label each of these shades so we can see the breakdown. 1 for lid, 2 for crease, 3 for dark liner shades, and 4 for the highlight. Every shade has a purpose. I can choose one from each category and they look good together. And I've built a palette that can give me everything from a bright blue and purple look to a totally gold and brown eye that would be acceptable in almost any office. Blue, purple, and olive green, not really your color scheme? Understood. We can apply the same formula to a variety of color schemes. Here's one that focuses on greens and pinks. I've again went with 4 lid shades, but here I've cut down the number of crease shades by 1 and used that extra space for a third dark outer V or liner shade. I can't go quite as neutral with this one, though the champagne shade with either the rose or the green matte would be neutral enough for any of my needs, but I can do quite a bit of color. There's a completely green look in here, and adding that blue to the outer corner with some combination of the pinks and the greens on the lid and crease could be a very pretty look. I think you get the pattern by this point. Make sure the lid and crease shades look good together, add in a very dark matte and a very dark shimmer, and pick out a highlight. I'm fair enough that all of these highlighters look pretty similar, but if your skin tone is deeper than mine, the world of interesting highlight shades is your oyster. This is my favorite of the palettes I put together. I've never had a mint eyeshadow, but I've been lusting after them for years, and I really want to dig into the mint green with the matte turquoise. I probably won't talk through the 2 more neutral palettes to the same extent, as I'm sure I'm just beating a dead horse by now. In this case, I've added in what could be another lid shade in place of a third crease color. I'm instead choosing to view it as more of a topper shade. I think this could make a really beautiful halo eye over the peach, the gold, or the pink lid shades. This very last palette is the only one I would actually advise against purchasing. Though it's very pretty and serves as a useful illustration for how this formula can apply even to incredibly neutral color schemes. There simply isn't a reason to pay the premium for the customization of building your own palette when there are so many warm neutral palettes out there, many of which would cost far, far less than this $100 version. I hope you found this interesting. Have you ever made a build your own palette? What was your strategy for building it, and do you find that you get as much use out of it as you had hoped? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye!